When most city dwellers think of farmers, they picture someone riding a red or green tractor over a couple hundred acres under the sunshine. Well, if that's what you think, you're in for a huge awakening. Like the rest of the world, farms have gone high-tech, and one of the state's farmers has done so well, he was chosen as the top producer of the year. We take you to Colby now to introduce you to Lonn Frahm.
Well, Colby's the oasis on the prairie or on the plains, and that started back when the factory outlet deal was a big going concern. There's someone from Kansas City came out and did a story on it, and in the story they said, and there it was, this oasis on the plains, and it stuck.
Lonn Frahm is the 6th generation of farmland in Thomas County. Family on his grandmother's side began working this land in the early 1890s. This picture of the area was taken in 1907.
Taken from the top of the courthouse. Apparently my house right now would be out in there.
Lonn's father died of a heart attack when Lonn was only 28. Being the oldest of 3 children, he took control to keep everyone else going.
No, I didn't want to do this, and I was never going to do this.
Since Lonn took over, the land he's working has grown bigger and bigger. He started with 6,000 or 7,000 acres, and over the years he's expanded that to 20,000 acres, which is the equivalent of 32 square miles. If the land was all together, that would be a chunk that would be almost 6 miles wide and 6 miles long, which is bigger than most Kansas towns.
Starting here, the majority of the ground, I'll show you a map, the majority of the ground west is mine or my family's.
All right, of the acreage that you farm, how much is owned and how much is rented?
Over half of it would be rented from non-family members.
In order to farm that amount of land, Lonn uses all the latest technology. This combine is so high-tech, it can almost work the land itself.
All green, and we get all new every year now. If you trade everything at once, you get incredible deals from the factory, and so keeping everything under warranty has sure saved a lot of parts and repair bills. And then farming on a large scale, I can put lots of hours on the machinery to where the cost per hour comes down, and I can afford to trade every year.
And it also ensures that he gets the very latest technology. This combine, as well as his other tractors, use GPS to work the field. When the crop is planted, Lonn's employees insert a memory card that registers the exact spot where it fertilized the previous season.
The tractor will drive within an inch of where it drove the fall and pull the planter right on top of the little slice where the fertilizer was put in the year before. And so as the seed grows up, the roots go straight down right into a zone where the fertilizer was placed at a precision depth.
The machinery takes over with auto steer. It's extremely efficient and cuts down on waste. During harvest time, this technology allows Lonn's crew to know exactly the return they're getting and where they're getting it. This employee has been with Lonn since 1995.
Actually mapping what it's making, so I can get it at the computer at the farm, and then I can print out a map and it'll show us what it's made over the field.
We're measuring the moisture of the grain. So quality and quantity are the main things.
That map gives them precise information on specific areas that have a lower yield. So next year they can adjust the water or fertilizer in just that location.
I'm on my way.
Since they have so much land to harvest, they don't even stop to unload. When the combine gets full, a tractor pulls up alongside of it and they offload in motion. It's almost like watching a highly choreographed dance.
Basically everything's computerized now. It tells me when it's full, the unloading auger's out, grain tank's full.
How long will it take you to unload?
It doesn't take very long, just a little over a minute. Auger's about 3.3 bushel a second.
think it costs a lot to fill up your gas tank, you haven't seen anything yet. Each time this combine refuels, it costs more than $1,200. Having auto steer also cuts down on those costs.
Advantage is you're always taking a full swath. There's overlap. Say you on the average overlap 2 feet, so you got 2 feet of your header that's not cutting anything, and therefore doing less acres. If you have satellite driving, you can trim that down to just a few inches, and plus you have perfectly straight lines.
Sure.
Yeah.
No human error.
Yep,
Right?
no human error.
And fewer humans to actually do the job.
It used to be a farm of this size back 30, 40 years ago would take, probably 10 people. Now we're doing it, with mainly 5. Harvest a field this size would have easily, with 2 machines, 20 years ago, would have taken 4 or 5 days. Now we can do it 2.
It's not just the farming equipment that's high-tech. When you enter Lonn's office, you feel like you're entering the Pentagon. There are computer screens everywhere. Lonn can monitor just about everything related to his operation from this chair. It's not just the technology that's so impressive, it's Lonn's technique that's made a huge difference. Coming up after the break, we'll tell you what Lonn's doing that other farmers are now starting to copy. You're watching It's All Good. Just before the break, we showed you some of the amazing technology that's made it possible for Lonn to farm 20,000 acres of land.
We've got a transducer that sends to make sure that there's water in the system that's going, that's moving, and there's a code.
Since this area gets less than 20 inches of rain a year, Lonn had to find a way to get the most out of every drop possible. One of the ways he's found to do that is by no-till farming. Lonn has been using that technique since 1998. In fact, Lonn was one of the first farmers in the nation to do it. No-till farming means he leaves the stubble from the previous year's crop rather than plow it under.
We do it here to conserve moisture.
Okay.
It also sequesters carbon. We used to have terrible problems with wind erosion. If you think about the early 30s out here, as long as we've got cover, things attached to the ground, it's never a problem.
Since water is such a valuable resource, Lonn also uses technology to assure that his irrigation methods are as efficient as possible.
They report in, and the green means that it is operational and it is moving, and the little drips mean that it is wet. The F means it's going forward. And it tracks the pounds per square inch of water that are coming out and also the rotation.
Lonn has 11 miles of irrigation pipe on 44 sprinklers, which would be a full-time job for one person to check. This program pinpoints any breakdowns and immediately notifies them of the location.
Any one of these will email us or text us if there's a status change. So the minute that there's a problem out there, it calls your cell phone and reports in. We can monitor them. What used to take 4 hours driving to go see, we just sit down at the internet here and look.
Lonn runs his farm like a Fortune 500 company. He's analyzed every figure and has come up with a plan to cut costs as much as humanly possible. Sometimes that involves buying a lot of equipment.
We have 7 semis. And we just use them to take the grain into the bins or the elevator.
As much grain as they harvest, they get a lot of use. Since they do harvest so much grain, Lonn has even built his own grain bins to hold it.
We harvest so many bushels so fast that the elevator can't take it from everybody, even if they had the space, which they don't. You can see we started over there with 5 small ones and add and add and add, and we're not quite up to 1 million bushels, but next time we add on, we will be.
They harvested more than 1.5 million last season, and that number just continues to grow. In fact, to keep track of what they're harvesting, Lonn built this scale.
We put this in when we first put in the bins. Well, this is very, very necessary.
Again, all of this, and he's doing it with just 5 people.
And we do all of our own harvesting and grain handling with that amount of people. That's the thing that's more interesting or more notable. We store all the grain over here and load it out and do the machinery, do an awful lot of our own machinery work too.
The most amazing thing is, most of Lonn's employees have been with him for decades.
We've got 33 years, 27 years, and 13 years. And one started when he was 14, and one started when he was 20, and another when he was 19.
Lonn says listening to what his employees have to say and allowing them the freedom to control how they carry out their jobs is part of the reason they stay. But it's not just his employees who constantly look for better ways to do their jobs. Lonn says he's constantly searching out new information too.
I just love to read. Magazines are my vice.
I don't think it's just magazines that are his vice. Lonn has more books in his home than a lot of libraries do. Lonn has a master's degree from K-State, but his education didn't stop there. He travels extensively and is constantly learning new techniques and innovative ways to farm from all over the world. In doing so, he believes in sharing that knowledge he's acquired with other countries. Each year, he takes on interns from all over the world. That's something he's done for 10 years now.
The reason I would say that is if I try to mentor other people when I have the chance, and I just would toss that out. I discovered early on that in explaining things to somebody else, you get a better understanding of them yourself. And you'll question why you do things too. If you have someone else saying, well, why do you do this? And so you can learn a lot about what you do by explaining it to other people.
In fact, one of his interns from Zimbabwe, after learning about American farming, recently became an American citizen and plans to stay here. In his spare time, which there isn't much, Lonn also takes care of his 5-acre homestead.
Big do-it-yourselfer, as a lot of farmers are. Either to save money or to make sure it gets done right, or to feel self-reliant, or some combination of all three.
That fact is very evident, especially when it comes to his house.
I built the fence myself. There's 16,000 screws in it, and planted every single tree except for a couple of the very biggest ones. I dug the pond myself, and I'm the gardener and the pretty much everything.
His life is about more than just farming, though. Lonn has all kinds of interests, like collecting these antique maps.
And I found all these in an antique map store. You notice I collect antique maps, and that kind of started my buffalo collection. This is a Frederick Remington, and some of these are souvenir things. Maps of the westward expansion. I've always liked traveling and maps, but
Walking through his home is like getting a private tour of a museum. In addition, Lonn is an accomplished pianist and a tenor soloist. All of these achievements led Lonn to become the 2009 Top Producer of the Year. As great as that is, he says that's not what he considers to be his crowning achievement. What's your greatest achievement?
if I've been able to motivate other people, I think that's probably the best one. To give someone else that aha moment, or the one that introduced another person to another person and you were the catalyst. I think that's the thing I like doing most, is hooking up two people, being the connector. Someone once said, "Oh, it's always been so easy for you," and it didn't take me very long to say, "I just made it look that way." It probably wasn't. I think anytime we see someone else's road and say, "Oh, they had the silver spoon in their mouth," and I have a friend that we joke about gagging on the silver spoons, that keeps getting caught. Yeah. I don't think anything's ever as easy as anyone looks.
As talented and accomplished as he is, it's amazing he hasn't gone off to some far land.
Because it seems like more and more families are fleeing the American farms. Why are you doing this? What do you get out of this?
I feel like you do something that matters, or something that makes a difference, because you're raising food. In a lot of ways we have a great life here. There's opportunity, there's excitement.
Do you have any regrets?
I think only that I didn't find a mentor sooner. I've done a lot of things the hard way, figuring it out yourself. I kind of raised without a lot of instructions.
Lonn says there's an upside to farming most people never consider.
farmers have the greatest toys. You've seen some of them today. We get to have the greatest toys.
Lonn has also donated countless hours to the community by serving as chairman of the board for Midwest Energy, the advisory board of the Geologic Survey, and the board of Colby's Hospital. The governor even appointed him to the Kansas Water Authority and the Kansas Arts Commission. Coming up after the break, we'll show you Topeka's answer to Stonehenge, only it's a little rustier and not quite as famous.